Hey guys, it's your host Elex, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Mixology. All right, guys, we are talking about affirmations today. And I thought this was a good topic because affirmations are essential to a positive, healthy, growing mind, in my opinion. And as someone who used to be, I don't know, I don't want to say, well, actually, I can definitely say I was not doing affirmations earlier in my life, but I had a very negative way of thinking. And I am a big proponent in the fact that if you constantly have a negative mindset, you can't expect for positive things to happen. I am definitely glass half full type person, but even if you're a glass half empty type person, you can still do affirmations. Because today we are really going to look at the difference between realism and pessimism. Because I used to be very pessimistic, which was not good for my mental health. So, the big difference here when we look at realism versus pessimism, realism is basically saying that you see things as they are. And that's a great thing to do. But if you're being pessimistic, you are basically assuming that things are going to stay terrible. I tell people this all the time. If you think it's going to go bad, you're not giving yourself much hope. So, we're going to go into the science on affirmations. We are going to talk about how I've seen that they work. We're going to talk about the history of them. So, by the end of this episode, I am pretty confident I can get you to start saying some affirmations in the morning. Now, when you hear me talking like this, I am not expecting you to look at a bad situation and be like, oh, we're fine. Everything's fine. I think we've all been there, like your whole world's crashing. And you're like, I'm fine with your thumbs up. But what we hit on today is going to show you that you can squarely look at a bad situation and choose to talk to yourself like a coach through this situation so you can learn from it, get better, grow, be able to come up out on top at some point versus when you have that pessimistic mindset, you're talking to yourself like an angry person on the internet leaving a hate comment. And the hate comment is not what's going to help you grow. Coaching yourself through the bad times, through the bad situations, that's how you level up from them. As we've mentioned, and if you didn't listen to the resilience episode with Al Simon from last week. Great diving into you can only control the controllables. And this is part of that. The only thing you can control on a day to day basis is your attitude slash mindset. And by now, you have to understand that things are going to go wrong in life. Not everything is going to go your way. Life is not fair. But if you can control your attitude with everything that goes on, that is how, one, you can salvage your mental wellness, and two, it creates resilience. So if you're looking to become more resilient, this is a really great way to. And I'm going to talk about one thing in particular that I'm going through right now. I work at a staffing agency and I have around the ballpark of like almost 20 employees right now that just finished a project. And one of our clients was saying, hey, we got work, we got so much work, we're going to be A-okay. I was going to be able to keep my guys going from one project to the other. And these are guys that I have developed relationships with. These are guys that have worked for me for, I mean, honestly, anywhere from 1 to 3 years. And they've relied on me and my company to help provide for them and their families. And this week, I was waiting to get the update because I have some of these guys sitting at home waiting for me to give them the call of, hey, you're going back to work. And I got the notification. Our client's client is very behind. So I'm not getting these guys out like I thought I was. And it's not that I'm not getting back to work, but like the original plan is not going as we believed it was going to. And I crashed out when I found out. I've cried. I've stayed up all night. I actually found this out yesterday and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. knowing that people's livelihoods are in my hand, guys and employees that I truly care about and have built connections and know that they have families. It's eating me alive. And when I say keeping a positive mindset, knowing that, this is not ideal, but I'm going to work through this. I'm going to be stronger because of this. I'm going to be a better recruiter because of this. I keep telling myself that because that is how we keep the good morale. That is how we keep my days, instead of being absolutely dumpster fire days, that is how I revive my day. Yesterday, when all of this hit, I will be very honest, there was no reviving that. Yesterday was not fun, but today I look at it as, you know what? That situation, it took hold of my whole day yesterday. That's not happening today. We are going to figure out how we're moving forward, and we're doing it. Because really, too, you're not benefiting yourself if you're negative and you bask in something. Because with the situation, I could just be like, oh my gosh, my guys are going to hate me. While, like, I don't know how every conversation's going to go. One. Two, we could have a job that pops up in 2 days that I could put them all back to work on. So you never know what could happen in life, too. That's why you can't be so down on yourself and down on the situation and just down in the dumps when things don't go right. You gotta keep telling yourself, we're learning, we're growing. This is good. It's gonna be okay. And I have not always been like this. I would say the past 2 years, I've been really good at when things go wrong. We're like, okay, redirection. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out. I remind myself. And I do it in the car. I do talk to myself, which is a weird trait that I have. I guess I get it from my dad. He talks to himself a lot, and I do it. But you can do your affirmations in the morning when you're in your bathroom, in the car on the way to work in the morning. You don't really do them. I don't do affirmations in front of anybody. I do them by myself because we don't have coaches. We're adults. You have to be your own coach. You have to be the one keeping yourself accountable. You have to be the one that when you're having a bad day and you see yourself getting into that bad headspace, it's like, hey, come on, come on. Like, we're not doing that today. We're better than that. I do that to myself, and it takes time. Some days are better than others. Sometimes Coach Elex is not really feeling it, but 5 days out of 7 of the week, I make it mandatory that Coach Elex is keeping myself on point with everything, and we are keeping the good headspace, and we are focused on how we can move forward. So, what actually is an affirmation? Okay, we've talked about it a lot. What is it? So, spoiler, an affirmation is not magic. It is just conscious self talk. You don't realize that you are doing daily affirmations, but they just might not be positive. Some of them might be, but not all of them, because I'm guilty of it too. It's because our brains are so wired to think negatively about things. Kid you not, the science backs it that when situations happen, it's because of the amygdala. We get scared. Our brain is like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." When it's like, "No, we're going to be okay." And that's why this is hard, is because all of this is training yourself. All of this is coaching yourself. And I will say, a lot of people need help with being able to do this. I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am someone who deals with mental health on a day to day, my own. I've done research. I've seen what works for me. I've talked with experts. I've talked with doctors. And that's why I'm sharing all this information with you. So I will say, I personally was able to, I fell off the wagon, but I was able to get myself back to a point where I could coach myself up. But honestly, go see a life coach. We have life coaches and our resources on mentalmixology.org on those tabs. Life coaches, therapists, like I said, psychologists. If you find the starting point of why it's hard for you to get to that point where you can coach yourself and what that obstacle is, that's the gateway open. So that's even a win. If you can figure out why you're having a hard time with positive self talk or positive affirmations, there might be a root cause if you've tried it for a while and you're not seeing any luck with it. So do keep that in mind because this is different for all of us. But like I said, our affirmations that we're probably already doing, the bad ones, it's anything from ladies. If you're having a bad hair day, I definitely have a lot of them. Or the hair's really greasy and you're like, we're just gonna slick this back in the bun. Something about a bun makes me look like I'm an egg. I look like an egghead. And it's the ones of us that are really honest with ourselves, that can joke a lot with ourselves. I think that's where a lot of the negative self-talk is. And for the longest time, I thought I don't know. With people I love, if I love you, I'm probably roasting you. Like, I love the sarcasm, I love the back and forth banter. So, I do that to myself a lot. I'll get ready for the day, I'm like, "Girl, you look like a scrub. You look like Adam Sandler." Name it, you know? Or I got bangs. I had bangs, which they've gotten better. They used to frame my face, so coconut head was definitely the vibe I was giving when my natural hair came out. So, little things like that. Or when you mess up at work and you're like, "Well, I'm a dummy." Negative self talk, negative affirmation, and you don't realize it, but you do some self searching. You already know what affirmations are. We just got to get you doing the right ones. So, and the backstory into why, kind of how I started and how I got to this point, I was in a relationship with someone who was a glass half empty type person. And I will say the relationship wasn't the healthiest thing in the world. So my mind wasn't in the best place. But, when they say that who you surround yourself with, that's who you start to become, this was a prime example of that. My ex just very prone to negative self talk. Every situation that happened, always wanted to talk about the worst of what could happen. And not only that, but like would linger on it. And so there wasn't a lot of positivity coming from this person. And I was around that person all the time. So coherently, like that is what I picked up. And it took hold of me for a good 3 years. And to be honest, I couldn't really speak back to college because I don't even, mental health in college, I didn't even focus on that. I was so busy and in debt trying to graduate and pay my bills. But when I got into the workforce, it was definitely something that I looking back now, I didn't love about myself, but I don't think I would be in this position if I hadn't gone through such a negative part in my life. So that was the thing. I was a product of my environment and I was really negative on myself. I was really negative on the things around me. And the thing I noticed was when I was super negative, it never seemed like anything would go right. It felt like every situation was the worst it could be. It felt like everything went wrong, nothing was going right. I felt lost in life. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I mean, it was not a great season of my life if I'm being really honest with you guys. So, as I mentioned, with that being said, it was so easy for my brain to think the worst about everything that I did. And it wasn't until you can only cry yourself to sleep. I was in a terrible place and I hated it. And I want to say it was a podcast I had listened to. It was so long ago, I really couldn't. Honestly, it's probably a Mel Robbins podcast if I'm betting on it, because Mel Robbins, shout out to Mel, you got me through some hard times. But really, I want to say, like I said, Mel Robbins podcast, hearing someone talk about the power of self talk changed my life. And that's why I think this is so important for all of you, because it really just takes someone telling you, I have personally seen it change the overall well being of my life. It's worth moving to a more positive mindset, I promise you, because even when things go wrong, I'm gonna be honest. I either A, realize that they happened for a reason. It's never no, it's just redirection. Or or the situation at hand is teaching me something that I need to know for the future. I am not kidding. If you look at everything that goes wrong as a learning experience, this also helps this mindset too. I think I am good about positive affirmations, but there are times where I'm not great at it, and people around me will even, like, the whole thing at work that was happening, I told you about, we were on a meeting yesterday, and as you can imagine, I was not a happy camper. I was ripping heads off yesterday because I was frustrated. I'm an emotional person, and I take things like this personally when I shouldn't. And so that's where, like I said, prime example of to where the negative self-talk can really come out when you don't even expect it. You're not even conscious of it, to be truly honest with you, because I'm in this meeting and I just hear our I don't know. There's so much that goes into this situation, and I don't need to tell you about my work problems. When this all erupted, I am in this meeting. I was kind of like a firing squad, just being like, why aren't we doing this? What are we going to do now? What are we going to tell these people? We're going to lose all these guys. They're going to go work for our competitors. We're never going to get them back. And I am blessed to have great people around me, because one of my managers, as we're talking about this, gave me great perspective. He's like, you know what? Yeah, maybe they'll go work for one of our competitors for a month or so, but we normally always get these guys back. We treat them well. They're work family to us. Like, if we cannot take care of them right now, we are not going to always lose them. And that's what's hard too, is because with what I do, I form really good connections with folks. So it's hard seeing something I can't control just vanish in front of my eyes. But when my manager said that, I'm like, you are so right. And I kid you not, him saying that it kind of helped lift a little bit of that weight off my shoulders. And all I needed was just that little inkling of positivity. And it really did change my whole mindset on this situation. I wasn't as like, ho hum, I'm going to rip some heads off. I was like, okay, you know what? We really are going to work through this because that is so true. It's just a period of time where this is happening. And like I said, we're figuring out how we're going to work through it and how, when this happens again, I don't lose my cool and just become this negative Nancy to my whole company. So, really, in my relationship, seeing that I was in a terrible place, wanting better for myself, it was just little things as when things go wrong, being like, we're going to be okay. We're going to figure this out. You're smart. You've been working hard for this. Imagine this, especially in, like I said, this isn't like the self affirmations in the morning. This is when things are going wrong and you are very hypercritical of yourself, of others. Think of anybody. Anybody can be your coach. Imaginary coach is sitting right next to you, trying to hype you up to like get you back in the game. Like, you got this. You are smart. You've worked hard for this. You've put so much time into this. Those words that a coach would tell you is how you need to start talking to yourself. Think of the coaching mindset. And I truly say like a coach, like a sports coach, because you're coaching yourself. And it takes time. When I realized I did not want to be this negative Nancy, I wanted to gain more control of my life. I wanted a more positive life. I wanted things to start going my way. I didn't want to have this woe is me mentality. That was truly it. I was tired of being woe is me. Like, no, it's not woe is me. It's okay, that's life. What are we going to do next? That's the goal here. Now, we're going to talk about the history of it because affirmations have been around for a long time and we don't realize it. So, this awesome French pharmacist, he is the father of affirmations, and this was started back in the 19th century. And if he handed patients a bottle of sugar pills and told them, this is going to cure you instantly, they actually got better faster. And I know a lot of you, when I say that, you're like, ooh, placebo effect. Right there, baby. We talk about the placebo effect all the time. Affirmations, nothing different. Nothing different at all. If that just helps kind of formulate the history and science behind this to you. So, what this French pharmacist did is he had his patients repeat this phrase 20 times a day. Once he realized this, okay, he had his patients say, every day in every way, I am getting better and better. He told his patients to say this. And this is where he started to see it work. So we talk about the 1920s, 19th century when this really started with our French pharmacist. But we see this come back in the 1980s with the mirror work explosion. So there was an author, Louise Hay, and she popularizes mirror work, which is literally looking at yourself in the mirror saying, I love you. And, this really turned into a big pop culture thing. It exploded so much that SNL even did a Saturday night skit on it. And I think this is why affirmations can have partially a negative rap because, like in the skit, they mock the famous line, I am good enough. I'm smart enough. But it is really cool to see how affirmations did really explode. I just don't think people took them as seriously as they could have just because of things like the SNL skit. Now you see them in movies and TVs and people they overdo it. It doesn't have to be that cheesy. It doesn't. You have to cater this to how it best suits you. And if, saying you're important, you're a badass, you're so gorgeous. If doing that in the mirror helps, it really is whatever works for you. Everybody's going to be different when it comes to these affirmations. And that's why people didn't really take it seriously either, is because, when you see it in an SNL skit and people make this goofy persona around affirmations, people are like, oh, yeah, it's weird. You don't want to do affirmations. People are going to make fun of me. Well, if being silly and goofy means I have better mental health, call me a silly goose. So as I mentioned, really my relationships, my work life, my friend life, my personal life, everything really did start benefiting for the better when I was more positive. Because not only was I being able to show up for myself in various different ways with this new mindset, but I've been able to show up for the people in my life with this. My sister was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and it's really, really easy for her to get into this negative mind space because I don't really know if there is a cure for what she's going through, and she's dealing with a lot of pain. There's a lot that she's going through, and that's where we've talked about toxic positivity, and that's not what we're going at. And that's where you have to be creative with the self talk. My sister is a force to be reckoned with. She's building a software right now. And we went on vacation, and she's lost a lot of weight with what's going on, but she is very negative about what's going on, negative about her life. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do anything. This sucks. Every day sucks. Every day is painful. And I told her, have you ever heard of a single successful person who had an easy life? I mean, there might be one, two, three, but 9 times out of 10, when you hear about someone's success story, they were in the trenches at some point. And my sister has lived a very blessed life. This is really the biggest obstacle she has had to endure thus far. And all I said was, this is part of your story. Every successful, every person that wants to get to like just the place she wants to be in life, they all have a story that started very less than ideal. And that right there was an affirmation that wasn't, hey, you're going to be okay. It was, this is part of the plan. This is part of your story. Just like every story, they work through it and they get to a better point. And something as simple as that, that is positive. That is not toxic. That is, hey, let's look forward. Because yes, this sucks. And that's where the realistic mindset comes into play, because you have to be realistic with yourselves. You have to be realistic with the people around you. Now, going to the ones in the morning. For instance, sometimes I'm dancing and singing as I'm making my bed and getting ready in the morning because we really sometimes need that positive vibe. Not every morning, truly, but probably 4 days a week, I listen to music as I'm getting ready, making my bed. I'll look at my vision board. Vision board's a really good thing too. We've talked about vision boards. You want to keep in sight the goals and what you're going towards. Okay, and you're gonna laugh at me. I wrote on my mirror and I look at it and I say it to myself every morning. I just want a big booty, acne off my face, and $5 million. And I know the 5 million, it's like saying you're gonna be a billionaire, but in my defense, I am helping to grow a family business right now, but everything I say to myself every morning is something I know I can do something to work at. 1%, we talk about the 1% all the time. It's something I can do 1% every day in every area to get me closer to what is written on my mirror. So we talk about just positive self-talk on a day-to-day basis, but including this into your routines, especially in the morning, start your day off with this. Because I'll say that to myself in the mirror when I get ready, and I guess I'm not like looking at myself saying, I want a big booty, blah 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 blah. I'm just saying it to myself. If you want to look at yourself, you can do that too. But when I'm in the car is when a lot of that happens as well, when it comes to positive affirmations. And I do it a lot because I knew since I was such a negative Nancy before, I would have to take an extra effort to really reshape my brain. And this is how you can think of it. Okay, so let's take like a lawn, a nice mowed lawn. Well, if we really want to get a good laugh, I suck at driving in reverse. And the other day, there was a lot of parking going on in my parents' driveway, and I reversed it and backed that shit up and drove through my mom's yard. Not a lot, but you could definitely see my tire marks. Okay, but you know what? I'm not always driving in my mom's yard. So, the one tire mark, it's like, okay, it's there, it'll grow back. Well, if you think about your mind and the way it works, when you speak negatively so much, your brain is driving in reverse over my mom's backyard every single day. So now instead of the grass growing back, it's like, well, now there's just a path. So Elex has her own reverse path out of my parents' driveway. And the reason why it happens like that is because, like I said, it's so easy to stay into that negative mindset. But then you have to think, once you have that patch of grass just trucked over for weeks upon weeks, it's going to take some time to get it to grow back. And that's where you have to understand that getting a positive mindset is not going to happen overnight. You're not automatically going to wake up and your brain's automatically going to start thinking more positively about situations and about yourself. And your brain's going to automatically be like, okay, let's coach ourselves up in this moment. Like, we need encouragement. Let's encourage ourselves. It takes you being conscious of it for a large majority of time, because the more you do it, the more your brain will get accustomed to it. And two, you have to think your brain is a little lazy in the way that when you start repaving this positive mindset and you keep doing it every day, we get those. I keep reversing that and getting in my parents' grass every day. Those tracks are still going to lay down. It doesn't matter if they're positive or negative. And the way you can think about it too is your brain basically has a bouncer at the door of your subconscious. And if you tell the bouncer of your brain that, yeah, today's gonna suck, and I could have told myself that today with knowing I have to call all these folks and let them know what's going on. I was saying that, if I'm gonna be honest. I said it, and I'm like, nope, Alex, we're not doing that. It took a minute for the self correction to happen, but it happened. And we have to make sure that we are not doing the toxic positivity of saying things that are just way far fetched or way out of our reach. That makes self affirmations pointless. Your self affirmations should be something that allows you to work on that 1% every day. So make it obtainable. But what I challenge you to do is, in the next 24 hours, I want you to catch any inner negative Nancy's that you find. And when the negative Nancy starts to speak, don't argue with her. Just hand her a bridge phrase and tell her to sit down. So when things go wrong, say, we're going to figure this out. We're smart. We've been working hard. When you want to spiral, it's like, no, 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 no. Come back. Let's be realistic, but also let's be positive. Let's be optimistic about this. It really is a small thing you can do every day that will truly have a good outcome on your life the more you practice it. So, with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to this affirmation podcast. I really truly hope that, someone out there is going to be able to benefit from hearing the positivity and what you can gain out of affirmations in your daily life, because it changed my life and I know it can change so many other people's. So, be kind to yourselves, be kind to one another. If you or anybody you know is in a mental health crisis, please call or text the number 988. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will be back with more next week.